I was in my senior year of high school, and as part of my teaching class assignment, we had to assist in a class. On a whim, I decided to work with the ESOP students that were autistic. Little did I know just how much these kids were going to impact my life in such a way that it would change the rest of my life forever. These kids struggle mentally in ways that we don't see. Some of them can't talk, and they can't tell you what they need. They act in different ways that we can't really understand. These students, you may not know this, but according to the Autism Speaks website, autism is the fastest growing disability in the United States and is only growing more every day. Every 11 minutes, another child is diagnosed with autism in the United States, and without more information, we won't be able to help them and stop lowering these numbers in the future. And odds are, you probably already know somebody who has autism, and you just don't know it. The main key to beating autism is the two I's: intervention and information. Without these two things, the numbers will only increase. To help you better understand, I'm going to give you all the information you could ever need to know so we can beat autism and continue to help these kids to have a better future. Let's get started. Now, the main question you're probably asking yourself is, what is autism? Well, according to WebMD, autism is defined as a complex neurobehavioral disorder that includes impairments in social interaction and developmental language and communication skills, combined with rigid, repetitive behaviors. And as of May 2013, autism is now under the umbrella of a wider diagnosis called autism spectrum disorders. This broadens the horizon for different disorders that are underneath the autism spectrum. By encompassing all disorders under one diagnosis, it is easier to pinpoint the problem and to get more specific to help the child in need. Under the larger diagnosis, there are 5 different disorders that are encompassed as an autism spectrum disorder. The first and most obvious that we've already talked about is autistic disorder. According to WebMD, autistic disorder refers to problems with social interactions, communication, and imaginative play in children younger than 3 years old. Asperger's syndrome is another disorder. The children who have this syndrome do not have a problem with language. In fact, they tend to score in the above average or average range on intelligence tests. They are very brilliant in ways that we don't see. But they have the same social problems and a limited scope of interests as children with autistic disorder. Pervasive development disorder, or PDD, or as it's otherwise known as atypical autism, is a kind of catch-all category for children who don't necessarily fit into one particular category. Rett syndrome includes primarily girls and starts developing normally, but then begin losing their communication and social skills. And one of the other disorders is Rett syndrome. Children with Rett syndrome are usually significantly cognitively impaired. Some of these children can't even speak. And the final one is childhood disintegrative disorder. These children usually develop normally for at least the first 2 years and then begin to lose some or most of their communication and social skills. This disorder is extremely rare and is under a lot of scrutiny by mental health professionals because they don't necessarily consider it an autistic disorder. Now, you may be wondering what some of the symptoms are since we already know a little bit about what it actually is. The symptoms or signs that can be distinguished into 3 different categories: social, communication, and repetitive behaviors. An example of social challenges would be trouble understanding other people's feelings, like when a child sees someone sad but doesn't understand how to feel sad for that person. And not pointing at an object to show interest. So they may see an airplane flying overhead and they don't know how to point it out or show you that they're interested in it. And another one is not playing pretend games, like having an imaginary friend or pretending to feed a doll. And then some of the communications would be not being able to talk about their feelings. They have a very hard time expressing themselves and showing how they feel. So they just get frustrated and aggravated because they can't tell you how they feel. And another one is not saying words that they once knew, which is also a very significant part of autism. They lose skills that they once had. They may have known the word bread, and they want bread, and they can't say it anymore. And it gets very frustrating for them. And they also appear to be unaware when people speak to them. but respond to other sounds. So you may be speaking to this child and somebody snaps and they respond to that instead of you when you've been talking to them for 10 minutes. And then finally, examples of repetitive behaviors would be just having a very hard time adapting when a routine changes. It's almost like they get so used to it that they don't know how to accommodate to anything else. And also repeating other certain actions over and over and over again, like saying the same word, or flicking on a light switch, or tapping something a certain amount of times. It's almost like a form of OCD. Now, with all these symptoms, do we have a cause for autism? Unfortunately, we don't. Right now, there's no reason, rhyme or reason, why autism exists. There are certain theories, but there's no way to pinpoint exactly what causes autism in a child. Autism varies from case to case and varies from child to child, so they never know what exactly could pinpoint it. In a majority of cases, it appears to be a combination of autism risk genes and environmental factors that influence the early development of the brain very early on in the child's age. And when they grow up, these autistic risk factors and the environmental factors have influenced them so much that they may become autistic. This is only one of the speculations. But because we do not know what causes autism, there really is no cure. And the only way to really aid in the problem is early or to stop the process from progressing any further. Now, you would be surprised at just how common autism is in our country today. And like I said earlier, you probably know someone who has it now. I do. According to the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, or the CDC, around 1 in 68 American children identify as on the autism spectrum, which means that they have one of the 5 disorders. This has increased tenfold in the past 40 years. This is also because of advanced screening and processes to understand how a child may have autism, because we have more information than we did, say, 40 years ago. Studies have shown that autism is 4 to 5 times more common in boys than girls, with a staggering 1 in 42 boys diagnosed as opposed to 1 in 189 girls. With these types of numbers, and the numbers only growing more and more, we just have to act. April is Autism Awareness Month, and this month you can learn all about this disease and help learn how to stop it. With partners like Autism Speaks, there's things that you can do to help in your community and spread the word about autism. This issue is extremely close to my heart, and I want these numbers to start going down instead of going up. Just remember that every 11 minutes, a child is diagnosed with autism. What will you be doing in 11 minutes?